Hey everybody, my name is Trish Jones and this is the Integrity Web Business Show that helps you get maximum results in a minimum world. Now, we are on episode number 3 and at 2 o'clock this morning I wondered what on earth I was going to speak about today. I wanted to do a show, and one of the things I actually thought about was I want to explain to people what I mean by getting maximum results in the minimum world. It can sound like one of those throwaway cliche terms, strapline that I nicked from somewhere. In actual fact, I did. I won't tell you who from. I was reading a magazine and one of the well-known TV evangelists mentioned it in this magazine that I was reading, and I thought, oh my gosh, I really like that. Now, I didn't necessarily want to go, I certainly didn't want to do another 26-minute video like I did a couple of days ago. Rendering it is just horrific anyway. If you don't know what rendering is, forgive me. We'll talk about that later on. In fact, actually, I'm going to even show you how I create my videos, but that's for another day. But I didn't necessarily want to go down this entire layout, or what can I say? I didn't necessarily want to go down this route of elaborating too much on the whole principles, all the principles of the kingdom of God, and we will take them step by step, because I have to remember that not everybody is at the place where I'm at, and so baby steps, okay? But it was important for me to explain, as I said, what it means to have maximum results in a minimum world. And I certainly don't want you to think that this show is about goal setting, etc., etc. Whilst I understand that those things are important, my main concern is that people understand that we do not have to live and operate within the world system, because there is a system that is much higher than that, and when we operate in that system, we don't have to be limited by the world's systems. And by the world systems, I mean its education system, I mean its social systems, I mean its financial systems, which I'm telling you, if anybody's operating in that system right now, you should be afraid. But I'm not saying that we detach ourselves and go and live in the wilderness, or live in some desert with some nice sandals and become hermits. But what I'm saying is that those systems have to align with the truth of God, with the truth of the kingdom of God. And when they don't align, where they don't align, it is our job as kingdom citizens, as born again believers, to actually bring God's influence into those systems. Okay, so now you're thinking to yourself, Trish, what on earth does that have to do with my business or ministry? Well, first and foremost, we have to remember that even though I'm using these terms interchangeably, by the way, business and ministry, I believe that they are one thing. And what they mean, ministry means to serve. Ministry means to serve. And I know that I feel anyway that sometimes Christendom has kind of gone down this route of wave nouveau, what is the in thing at the moment, and so everybody wants to be a coach or a motivational speaker. If that is what God has called you to be, then absolutely fantastic. But let's not use those labels just so that we can get speaking engagements in the secular world because they pay us much more money. If that's where God has called you to influence, then do that. But please, we have to remember one thing, that ministry means service. Ministry means service. So anyway, I've kind of digressed actually, because I wanted to mention this. I have with me a loaf of bread, and because I wanted to demonstrate what I meant by getting maximum results in a minimum world, I went into my bread shop this morning, local bread shop, and I saw this loaf of bread which my husband and I used to buy, and we stopped buying it a couple of weeks ago because when I went into the bread shop one day, I thought, I swear that loaf of bread has got smaller. So I didn't say anything, and then a couple of days later I mentioned it to the lady in the shop. I said, I am sure that this is called a farmhouse loaf, has got smaller and the price has increased. And I won't mention the bread shop. I should name and shame them, but hey, when it's positive I'll mention them, when it's negative I'll keep my mouth shut, okay? But the lady behind the counter said to me, I totally agree with you actually. I've been looking at them over the last couple of days and wondering what it was, and she took the bread and sized it up next to the bread that they used to put the farmhouse loaf by, and they're very clever. They kind of moved it to another area to the end so that people wouldn't notice it. And she said, yes, it is considerably smaller than it was. It used to be a little bit higher and a little bit longer. And yet they increased the price. So what does that say to you? That they have a scarcity mentality. The bakers are probably thinking, oh my goodness me, we're in a recession right now, and what if we don't have enough money to pay our staff to cover the cost of the premises, etc. And they've probably spent thousands of pounds bringing in analysts to have a look at what they can do to increase their cost but reduce their overheads. And so what they've come up with is strategy. I haven't named the shop, have I? So I'm okay to say what I'm going to say, okay? They've come up with a strategy to rip you off. They want to rip you off by charging you more and giving you less. And what I wanted to demonstrate by bringing in my loaf of bread today, I should actually open it, shouldn't I, and see what it tastes like. What do you reckon? I haven't had any breakfast today. Okay, no, I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there. Let's, no, actually, I've opened it now, and then maybe I'll stop playing with it. Anyway, this is the first thing that's going to touch my lips all morning. I'm not making a very good job. Let's not put that back in there. Anyway, I'm not really into white bread. I prefer brown bread, but sorry, I digress there. I apologize. As born-again believers, getting back onto a serious note now, we don't have to be like the world. The world basically looks at everything and thinks, oh my goodness me, will I have enough for tomorrow? As kingdom citizens, we are in the kingdom of God's system where there is no scarcity thinking. In fact, there is no scarcity. There is no lack, but there is abundance. And so as people who serve, as ministry leaders, as business owners, it is our duty, and I really mean this, it is our duty to serve others. And so if we're going to serve, it means that we must give out of a service or servant heart. And a servant heart doesn't think to itself, how can I rip off the people whom God has called me to serve? I'm sorry, I know it sounds very, very harsh, but it is very true. A servant heart, when Jesus talks about the shepherd leaving the 99 sheep and going to look for that one sheep, the shepherd isn't thinking to himself, you know what, blow it. I'm not even going to bother looking for that one lost sheep because, you know, there's plenty more. And in fact, what I'll do is I'll get some of the male lambs and the female lambs, if that's what they're called in lamb terms, and get them together, and you know, I'll force them to have more babies, and I'll just have more, and I'll create more, and then I can go and sell more. No, he thinks I have to look after that one sheep that has gone astray. And if we start thinking like that, I am telling you, people will feel it. Even when we transact business with people who are not born again believers, they will notice that there is a difference. And so I want you to think about what it is that you might be doing where you're thinking in terms of scarcity. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't charge money, and good money, for what you do. You have to give value. That's what I'm saying here. And let me just explain what I mean about giving value. I wouldn't have been upset. I just mentioned the name of the shop, by the way, so I had to edit the video. I wouldn't have been upset had, I nearly said it again then, the bread shop increased the price of their loaf of bread with inflation. Nothing at all wrong with that. But we must always ensure that we are giving value. And what do I mean by that? Let's take, for example, at one point, just to illustrate, I used to build blogs. In fact, I still do. But I built blogs for people, and what I found was the people that I was building blogs for, they had a build a blog mentality. And so I was hardly charging anything for building these blogs, and I put the blog up, and then what I'd find is that the last entry